Hi everyone, Mr. Powell here for Knowable World. Welcome back to our series of mini lessons entitled History Through Art. Our subject today is one of my favorite heroes of the American Revolution, Patrick Henry. As you may already know, the United States was born on the 4th of July, 1776, when the leaders of the American colonies, including famous men such as Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and John Adams, issued the Declaration of Independence, which said that all individuals have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Although he wasn't there on that day, Patrick Henry had done as much as anyone else in America to bring it about. His most famous speech rings out through the ages with the great cry, "Give me liberty or give me death." A speech which helped convince the leaders of Virginia to join in common cause with Massachusetts, where the American War of Independence was soon to begin. Patrick Henry knew the war was coming and wanted Virginians to embrace the fact that there would be a war and that it was necessary. Although there is surprisingly no great painting of Patrick Henry's most famous speech, the artist Peter Rothermel did create one that shows Patrick Henry at his best and shows us why he is one of the most important founding fathers of America. When you think about how America was born, the name Patrick Henry deserves a special place in your thoughts. Let's take a look at why. It's certainly true that the Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July, 1776 is the one key moment of the American Revolution when America's leaders committed to creating a new country. It is literally the most important day in all of American history. To understand how it came about, however, we must return to the moment when a great disagreement arose between the American colonies and their mother country, Great Britain. The argument began with the British government creating a new tax on the colonies called the Stamp Act in 1765. We place stamps on various letters and things like that today if we want to mail them to someone else. The Stamp Act of 1765 was similar. It was a law that said that if you wanted to print a newspaper or a magazine or create a contract or even make a set of playing cards, you had to put a stamp on it. And of course, you had to pay for the stamp. What could be so wrong with that? Well, the idea of such a tax had never been discussed with Americans. They were simply told that they had to pay it. The famous response of the Americans was, "No taxation without representation," which means a government does not have the right to force people to pay new taxes whenever it wants. It has to consult with them first. This was a long-lived English tradition, and the colonists of 1765 thought of themselves as Englishmen. So Patrick Henry stepped onto the floor of the Virginia House of Burgesses to give a speech denouncing the Stamp Act. "Caesar had his Brutus," he said. What did he mean? He was referring to Julius Caesar, the famous Roman general. Caesar had tried to become the king of Rome, but he had been killed by Brutus to prevent him from taking all the power for himself. "Charles I had his Cromwell," Patrick Henry continued. Charles I was an English king who believed he could rule Englishmen any way he saw fit. Are you already seeing the pattern? Can you guess what happened to him? He was killed in a rebellion that was led by a man named Oliver Cromwell. And George III? Henry lingered there. George III was the King of England at the time. The Virginia House of Burgesses was stunned. What was Patrick Henry saying? Actually, it was obvious. If George III did not respect the rights of the American colonists, he would be killed. This was shocking. Look at the man drawing a sword. "Treason, treason," some cried out. And Patrick Henry ended, "May profit by their example," which was a clever way of saying he should learn from history. Henry's last words were, "If this be treason, make the most of it." In his amazing painting celebrating Patrick Henry's speech, Peter Rothermel shows us Patrick Henry with his hand raised in a great flourish. To show us that Patrick Henry has issued a challenge, he shows us a glove thrown down on the floor. As you may know, there is an expression, to throw down the gauntlet, from medieval times, which literally means to throw your glove on the ground. If an opponent wanted to accept the challenge, he would have to pick up the glove. Many are looking on with suspicion here, even with anger. Some are just stunned, like this man who's gripping the chair and the table with white knuckles. Patrick Henry had indeed thrown down the gauntlet to King George III of England about the Stamp Act. He had truly started the ball rolling. The colony of Virginia issued the Virginia Resolves, a set of announcements which said that Virginians did not have to pay the stamp tax. The Resolves were part of the rebellion against British authority that eventually led to the Declaration of Independence that made America a country. Thanks to the artist Peter Rothermel, we can see the moment that Patrick Henry helped bring about the amazing story of American freedom. So one great title for the painting would be Throwing Down the Gauntlet for Freedom. Or perhaps Time for Independence. What's your title for the painting? Either way, I think you can see that Patrick Henry was a very important leader of the American Revolution. Hi team! Our goal at Knowable World is to be the best place any K2 child can go to make sense of the world. We created these mini lessons in order to help Knowable World students extend their learning beyond the History Detectives program, and to help young learners like yourself see what Knowable World is like. If you're enjoying these mini lessons on YouTube, they are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the integrated curriculum you can take advantage of for as little as $9 a month. Come visit us at knowableworld.com to learn more.